Namaste. Welcome to this session. We have been discussing with Ishvara, and the thing is that the Ishvara is taken in different dimensions and perspectives by mankind. For a common man, Ishvara is someone who works for Ishtaprapti Anishta Nivrutti. The undesirable is set aside, desirable is offered. And therefore, we commoners pray God, pray divinity for that purpose. There are intellectual people who might have one idea of divinity. There might be emotional people who will have another idea of divinity. There are mundane people, there are semi-mundane people, there are so-called spiritual people, semi-spiritual people, spiritual people. So everyone will have different grasp on the idea about God, idea about divinity. Then the divinity is also a concept. There is one kind of it for atheists and another kind for theists. Atheist, the God is non-existent entity. It's a non-existent thing. It is a thing but non-existent. So they have one kind of argument to substantiate their stand of atheism. Then there are so many kinds of theists. There are some who just believe in God. There are some who accept the God but don't believe in God. So we have several kinds of mindsets, and therefore the divinity is projected differently. The thing is that between theist and atheist, for atheist there is nothing like God. The atheists think that way. One of the reasons that I would say that for them to have such a stand of atheism is that they have not sufficiently penetrated the knowable realm. It is just if the knowable is only for practicality of life and practical purpose of life, so many things need not be known. Very practical minded people don't have to be knowing past life and future life. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. If they don't bother about the whole creation, how this creation got launched, how it got evolved, etc. Now, these questions are no questions for those who are very, 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 very practical minded people and down to materialism people. They are down to materialism. Where there are so many questions will not occur to their minds, it is because they don't have inquisitiveness and inquiry into it. But when your inquiry deepens, then naturally the God in some form will have to be accepted sometimes, somewhere. So for certain problems to be solved, questions to be solved, we will have to take recourse to these metaphysical things. So some say nature is God. Some say my own intelligence is my God. Very intellectual people, they know that their intelligence, for them, in their assessment, it is supreme. Their intellectual processes is something very supreme. So, in our Indian philosophical system, we have Dehatmavad, Indriyatmavad, Panatmavad. So many theories were presented. Like Charvak was very materialistic philosopher. He did not believe anything beyond what is actual, factual, perceptible, tangible. If something is not seen, then one becomes skeptic. If one is very, very materialistic person, something not visible, something not sensed, something not comprehended by human intelligence, then there is skepticism. So skepticism is there, agnosticism is there. These are various philosophical branches. And all of them find place in Indian philosophy. Yes, it might be argued, some might say that the God is not there, so where is the need of God? God is also not needed. But the God needs all of us. We may not need God, but the God is such an entity that it needs all of us. When I say all of us, everything here, all of us means all the beings, human, subhuman, superhuman. So, atheism and theism, this also is something that you should ponder over, have a thought over it in your process to explore the divinity, the God. Now, Patanjali has defined God in 3 places for 3 hierarchies. And as I said, it is borrowed from Pancharatra Agama. And the Pancharatra, or the real concept of divinity, is for every creature, every animal at any time, from barest monad to the very creator Brahma. The divinity will be conceived differently. Now, as I said in the last session, the God has become a subject matter of religions, isms, which is very unfortunate. It is very parochial, basically. Because those isms are not there to subhumans. Subhumans don't have those isms. It is only for mankind the isms are there, as if the God is only for man. And that too, again, only when a man is in awakeful state, the isms get attached to it. Even if a pontiff in Christianity is fast asleep, where is Christianity in him? So also in case of Islam, the Imam is fast asleep, where is Islam for him? So he must be in awakeful state. It is one of the 4 states of human consciousness, or at least the 3 states of consciousness all of us have. It is only awakeful state that you have attachment of ism. So, It is like looking at the astronomy in the sky with naked eyes. So, considering the God by these isms is something like that. You can't be an astronomer without a telescope or radio telescope or Hubble telescope or some mechanical device for your visions. With naked eyes, you cannot be an astronomer and astrophysicist. You need all those instruments. Then only you will be astronomer. With naked eyes, you cannot be an astronomer because you will not see so many things. So, a wakeful state of consciousness trying to describe, define, circumscribe divinity is something like that you are trying to look at the sky with naked eyes and then claiming yourself to be an astronomer or astrophysicist. Anyway, so that's why the other day I said, in the last session I said, the divinity, the God is not subject matter of isms, religions, isms. They have hijacked it. It is to be considered by metaphysics. It is subject matter of metaphysics. It is subject matter of mysticism. It is subject matter of dharma. Because there is a quotation I remember from Vishnu Sahasranama, a prelude to it. Achara prabhavo dharma dharmasya prabhurachyutaha. From Acharya you get dharma, and dharma, the Prabhu of dharma is Achyuta, divinity. So the point is, isms do not have any right to speak about God, define God, describe God, and then have dicta on God. And that too very, very, very dogmatically. Now we know what is the result of the dogmatism of all these isms. Anyway, so Patanjali is bringing Ishvara to Adhamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari. So Adhamadhikari is like a child in the field of yoga. That means to what is divinity for children. Madhyamadhikari means something like adult. And Uttamadhikari means very ripe old. If you take that way, the real concept of divinity is for everyone. You and me and atheists and theists, intellectuals, the emotional people, mental people, materialistic people, transmaterialistic people, spiritual people, not only for people but even for dogs and cats and animals and worms and insects, microscopic life, to every kind of life, not only for life but even for beyond. The so-called insentient. The divinity is indweller. It is not only indweller, it doesn't only dwell there, it is informer, it is internal ruler. Every atom is governed and regulated from within, whereby atom is atom. So there is a beautiful mention in Upanishads which says that he enters every manifestation from atomic, microscopically atomic, to electron microscopically atomic, to huge and extremely large and extremely pervasive. He enters all those. He is within every aspect of creation, from subtlest to grossest. And therefore they get Nama Rupa. So the divinity is there even for inert matter. Do you find any stone which is Christian stone and Islamic stone and Hindu stone and Jain stone and Buddha stone and Sikh stone or Jew stone? A stone is stone. But divinity is there. Divinity is not only all pervasive, it is all governing. That is how the divinity is. So, in creation itself, we come across sattvic creation, rajasic creation, tamasic creation. It is all His creation. Like parents might be having couple of children, few children, who ranging from very, very, very good and exalted to very, 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 very bad, unscrupulous. Yet they won't dispossess being parents. By being real parents, they won't abandon a bad child. It is their child. So whether the creation is sattva profuse or rajo profuse or tamo profuse, the divinity, there is a bond with divinity, there is a cord with divinity, and divinity is indwelling everything. So this is how that concept of divinity is. That there is no partiality, that I will be there only in exalted one and not the ones which are not exalted, or those are below par. It's all His creation. If it is all His creation, He will be impartial to entire creation, whatever might be its grade qualitatively. So, the God, the divinity, is for every kind of living being, aquatic to the land creatures, to space creatures, to creatures outside the planet. The God is not only for planet. Whereas in isms, the God is only for mankind. And now where do you find mankind? In a dust particle in our galaxy, and microscopic dust particle in our universe. But the reality, metaphysical God is for everything in the universe. He is governor, internal governor of everything, from largest stars discovered and to be discovered, or will be ever discovered, or undiscovered even. The divinity is informer, antaryami. This is what metaphysics tells us. That's why I said it is the metaphysics which has to speak about God, divinity, Almighty. Because the metaphysics will consider every creation, aspect of creation. It's not just terrestrial creation and just human creation in terrestrial world. We have so many creations in the terrestrial world itself. So we don't accord any ism to animals in the water, the fish and whatever aquatics. There is no religion to birds and animals. It's only for mankind. Religion is very, very parochial. Isms are very, very parochial. They don't really qualify to speak about God. Anyway, I hope I have triggered some thought process, if not convinced you here. I have triggered some thought process that isms and religions are not the ones who can speak on God. It is, I repeat, metaphysics, mysticism, which can speak about God, and even dharma. So, Patanjali is defining God for every mankind here of every chitta bhumi. We have seen so far 5 chitta bhumis: mood, kshipta, vikshipta, ekagra, niruddha, for all chitta bhumis. So, it might be human being who is sattvic or rajasic or tamasic or any combination thereof, in whatever proportion. The divinity doesn't abandon anyone, doesn't abandon anything. It's not only except exalted sattvic, everything will be abandoned. No, he doesn't abandon. That is how the God is. And then metaphysical aspect, Purusha Vishesha, the terminology used speaks about the metaphysical aspect of it. This divinity that Patanjali is speaking about is divinity for even a pebble, a bubble, dust particle, to huge stars in cosmos. So, this basis for this thought has come in Pancharatra. So, I told you last time during the end of the session that let's try to understand what is this concept of God, from where Patanjali has derived it. It is the concept of Ishvara that comes in Pancharatra Agama. So in Pancharatra Agama, why it is called Pancharatra? What is Pancha? What is 5? So it's a wonderful idea that one should look into Pancharatra and try to understand it. Why? What is 5? The 5 in Pancharatra means Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Archa, Antaryami. So the divinity has a supreme form called Para. That is his form in his abode, in his Sri Vaikuntham. That is called Para, supreme. See, let me give you some kind of reference for thought process. In Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter, when Krishna is going to show his universal cosmic form, for which he gives special vision to Arjuna, and he says, look at me now. So he sees his cosmic form, Vishwarupa, Vaishwarupa, Vaishvika Rupa. That's called Vishwarupa Darshanam. And he says, your mortal eyes will not be able to see this. Others on the battlefield could not see this. It was only Arjuna who could see his cosmic form, universal form, because special vision was given. Divya Drushti was given to Arjuna, and then he saw it. But then, having seen it, he conceded, I cannot put up with it. Please unfold, please fold it in. Enfold it. I no longer can see this. Because although he had a special sight, he was a mortal. He could not put up with it. So it was frightening for him, even to an Arjuna. I don't know what Arjuna was in Mahabharata battle. He could not put up with the form. He was not timid, but he was afraid of this cosmic form of Bhagwan Shri Krishna, and he says, please enfold it. I can no longer tolerate it. I no longer can put up with it. I no longer can be seeing it. And I want to see your Chaturbhuja form. Please, I want to see you in Chaturbhuja form, which is very, very, very pleasing. So Krishna does that. So the para form of God can only put up with by those who are in Vaikuntham. Not only put up with it, but they will really relish it, enjoy it, they will like it, and they will be liking it to see him in that form. And this form is so important for any life, you see. You won't like say your boss not appearing in his office in that formal clothing. If he comes in informal clothes, after all, he is your boss, but you will not be able to tolerate, you will not be liking it, you will dislike it. Because you are conditioned to see him in particular form, and that is his formal outfit with which he must appear in the office. If he comes in nightgown, it will be awful, or you will not tolerate it, you will be angry with him. So the form is so important for all lives. So we like certain forms. Animals and birds and of different kinds of lives will like different kinds of forms. What appeals mankind doesn't mean that it will appeal ant or worm or animal or beast or cattle. Their appeals are different. So he must be all appealing. So this is one of the form which will be appealing to those who are in immortal plane of Shri Vaikuntham. So that is called para. Then comes Vyuha. Vyuha means his form, which is his form for creation. So that is his form on Kshirasagara, lying down on the bed of Adishesha, lying down, reposing there, and from the navel a lotus stems, and in the lotus there is Brahma, the creator deity, and then at the feet there is Lakshmi. So that is the form of his, that is called Vyuha, because that from that ensues creation. Once the Brahma stems out of his navel, then the whole creation would be launched. Cosmic creation will be launched. Universal creation will be launched. So that is called Vyuha. Then comes Vibhava. The word Vibhava comes from Vaibhava. Vaibhava of Bhagavan. Vaibhava. Vaibhava means his glory, his prowess, his powers, infinite powers, infinite glories. So when those glories manifest, that is called Vibhava. Vibhava means his avatars. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Vamana, Parshurama, Rama, Krishna, Kalki. So the Dashavatars, you know the 10 avatars. So the 10 avatars are manifestation of his glory. And that's why it is called Vibhava. It is derived from word Vaibhava. Vaibhava means the glory. His glory shines forth. His glory manifests. So in different avatars, he showed his glories differently. That's why it is called Vibhava. Then comes Archa. Archa means he manifests for mankind to be satisfied by worshipping him. So he appears in a worship form whereby divinity can be worshipped. It is suitable to be worshipped. The form is suitable to be worshipped. Archa means to do puja. Archanam, pujanam. Therefore, that's called Archa. So he also manifests for mankind, for its own upliftment, for its own benefit, for its own liking, that he manifests. And therefore people go to shrine and worship him. So that's called Archa. And Antaryami. Antaryami means who is indweller in all beings, without any exception. All beings. He indwells all beings by being Antaryami. Antaryami means Antarniyamaka. Antarniyamaka means internal ruler, informer. So this Ishvara is also within us. That is why Purusha Vishesha, the Purusha. Purishete iti Purushaha. So he is Purusha by being within us. He is indweller of our Atma. He indwells us by indwelling our Atma, our self. He is inside ourself. He is regulator of ourself. He is constitutor of ourself. He is informer of ourself. So that's the Antaryami. So the God is immanent within us. The God in the perspective of Patanjali, he is within every one of us, every being within in animate creation, and every particle in so-called inanimate creation. Therefore, actually, nothing is inanimate in one sense. That's a functional classification that we say living, non-living. If the living is permeated by Paramatma, Ishvara, now Ishvara is sentient. Now how can you say that the governor and indweller is sentient but manifestation insentient? So it's a functional classification to distinguish between living and non-living. The non-living too is permeated, constituted, governed, ruled by Ishvara. And the living is undoubtedly ruled by the Ishvara. So that is one concept which we need to know from Pancharatra. This is how the Ishvara is. Having these forms, Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Archa, Antaryami. Then there is another beautiful concept called Chaturvyuha. What are four? See, what are we? Now coming to the divinity for us. What is the divinity for us? What are we? We are the ones who have four states of consciousness. Jagruta, Swapna, Sushupti, Turiya. What are we? You remove these states of consciousness. Do you remain? Do you exist? You don't exist. So we means these states of consciousness. will be either in Jagruti or Swapna or Sushupti, and then Turiya. So the Chaitanya has 4 states. Chetana is in 4 states. Now, this is the divinity within us. The divinity within us is manifesting differently. Like you see, the sun manifests severally. Morning sun, noon sun, afternoon sun, evening sun. The sun manifests differently for us. It's not only that the sun is different places, that in the morning, for dawn hours it is in the east, and for dusk hours it is in the west. It's not only the place that changes between east and west for sun, but the sun is a different manifestation. The rising sun, morning sun, late morning sun, early noon sun, afternoon sun, early evening sun, late evening sun. The sun differently manifests. It is not one and the same sun manifestation from dawn to dusk. Then again, the sun is different between summer and winter. The sun in the northern hemisphere in the winter months is one kind of manifestation. It is pleasing. The sun is pleasing. Then northern hemisphere around the subtropical region, the summer sun is horrible. So the sun has so many manifestations. In 12 months, we have 12 manifestations of the sun. Chaitra, Vaishakha, Jyeshtha, Ashad, Shravan, Bhadrapad, Ashwin, Kartik, Margashish, Paurush, Magh. 12 months: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. The sun manifests differently. The sun is one and the same, but it manifests differently. And that is quite significant. Significantly different and significant as well. So also, this consciousness, we are consciousness, Satchidananda. So if we are consciousness, we have these stages or states: Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, and the 4th, transcendent, called Turiya in Yoga Shastra. So, Vasudeva, it is all Vasudeva. That is one of the mysterious meanings of the statement in Bhagavad Gita, Vasudevam idam sarvam. For common man, all this is Vasudeva. And all this means they will show all that is in 360 degrees around us, vertically and horizontally. So that's what is the meaning for us, all this. Actually, we are pointing at all that. We point at all that and we say Vasudevam idam sarvam. Where the mysterious yogic meaning of Vasudevam idam sarvam, idam refers to our own state. Idam adam, this and that. What's the difference between this and that? That is the difference between idam and adam. So Vasudevam idam sarvam. So idam means what? Our states. So we are either in awakeful state or dreamy state of consciousness or dormant state of consciousness or the 4th state of consciousness. It is all Vasudeva. So Pancharatra gives the names: Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Vasudeva is Turiyavastha, original Vasudeva. In Sri Vaishnavism, it is called Paravasudeva. Why Paravasudeva? Because there are Aparavasudevas. Others are Apara Vasudevas, and that is Para Vasudeva. So Para Vasudeva means Vasudeva in Vaikuntham. But then it is differently manifesting in 4 states of consciousness. So original state is Vasudeva. That is Turiyavastha. Then little difference in manifestation, not in shape and form, same shape and form and whatever attributes, but little faded out, is Pradyumna, Swapnavastha. Then Jagrata, and then Sushupta. So Turiya is called Vasudeva, Jagrata is called Aniruddha, Swapna is called Pradyumna, and dormant Sushupti is called Sankarshana. So the Vasudeva manifests in these 4 forms, therefore we are in 4 states of consciousness. Turiyavastha, Swapnavastha, Nidravastha, Jagratavastha. So the Vasudeva manifests in 4 ways. This is called Chaturvyuhas. For you to have this idea of Vyuha, suppose there is an original photograph of yours, original copy, first copy, direct from negative. That's original photograph. Now how is that positive print of that, which is the first copy? That is your photograph. The profile, etc. is identical, portrait or whatever it is all identical. But suppose you take copy of it, you take a photograph of that print. So you get the first copy. First copy of the original copy. Original photograph. So understand this. Somebody has taken your photograph and given you print of it. So that's the first print. Now if you keep that print and take another photograph of the print and try to take a printout of it, there will be little difference in colors, etc. The sharpness, etc. There will be little difference because it is photograph of the photograph. So your photograph is to be taken in the place of Vasudeva. Then photograph of the photograph will be little different. Then photograph of the photograph of the photograph. So you will see how it becomes inferior in quality. Photograph of the photograph of the photograph. See how it will become more and more inferior. And that's why many times you say, give me original. I want to have original photograph, not a copy of the photograph. Now it is all your photograph taken at one and the same time, same photograph, but you will have 4 different manifestations, qualitatively fading out in features, in sharpness, in clarity, and in appeal. The photograph of the photograph of the photograph of the photograph will not be as much appealing as much as the very photograph is appealing to your eyes. Is that right? So this is how the that is Vyuha, meaning of Vyuha. So Vasudeva is original. Then a copy of it. Then copy of the copy, and then copy of the copy of the copy. That gives these different states. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. So Sankarshana will be the first copy. Aniruddha will be the second copy. And the Aniruddha will be the last copy. So photograph is the same, Vasudeva is the same. But then qualitatively, the appearance will slowly fade out in clarity, in sharpness, in tone. So that's why it is called Vyuha, Chaturvyuha. So the Vasudeva within us, divinity shines in pristine and original form in Turiya state of our consciousness. Then it is little inferior but complete in Sankarshana. Then little more qualitatively depreciated but complete in Pradyumna. Then furthermore depreciated but complete in Aniruddha. So that is the yogic meaning of Vasudevam Idam Sarvam. I am Vasudeva. But then I go through these states of consciousness. If you remove the states of consciousness, I don't exist. If there is no state of consciousness at all in me, that means I don't exist. I must be in one of the four states of consciousness existing. So see how the divinity within us manifests. Like in India, the rising sun is pleasing to watch. More pleasing in winter, less pleasing in summer, but pleasing. But when the sun comes to zenith, in summer, horrible. The sun is same, the sun is not changing. Temperature of the sun is not changing. 6500 Kelvin, whether it is early morning or late dusk time, whether it is winter or it is summer time, the temperature of the sun doesn't modify. It is 6500 Kelvin. It really doesn't matter whether it is in polar region sun or equatorial sun. The sun's temperature is the same, but its appearance is different. So the sun goes through different phases for us. Similarly, there is Vasudeva goes through different phases for us. That is Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Is our consciousness not special? Is it not terrestrial? Is it terrestrial or is it extraterrestrial? Can you buy consciousness? You can't buy consciousness in a market. You can't produce consciousness in a market. From where does it come? So it is celestial. Not only celestial, it is divine. Consciousness is divine. And that's why Patanjali is also corroborating with this concept of Ishvara, which comes in the form of our states of consciousness. So this idea has come from Pancharatra. So I told you about this concept based on the Pancha aspect and the Chatur aspect, 4 aspects and 5 aspects. The 5 means Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Archa, Antaryami, and 4 means Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. They are all Vasudevas. Vasudeva manifests differently, like the sun differently manifests between morning and dawn time and dusk time. It is similarly here. So this is little idea that you should be having as students of yoga about the concept of divinity, which is foundational in concept of Ishvara in Patanjali's postulation. That is why I have given this background, the Pancharatric background, which is the concept which is given by divinity himself. So you don't need testimony for it, because the Pancharatra Upadesham has come from Sriman Narayana. He himself has given these instructions. These are first instructions. And therefore it you can understand the Swata Pramanya in it. It is self-valid. It has validity of its own because it has come from horse's mouth. Sriman Narayana himself has spoken about Paravyuha Vibhava Archa Antaryami and Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyumna Aniruddha. So this is how it is Purusha Vishesha. He is our indweller. He is it's an immanent principle, Ishvara, within us. Immanent in this way. Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyumna Aniruddha. Sankarshana, very significant nomenclature. Akarshana, Karshana, Akarshana, Sankarshana. Karshana, Akarshana, Samyak Karshana. In what is state of sleep? It is like a black hole in our consciousness, whereby we lose all our name and form. It is black hole consciousness that we lose our identity, which we have so much with our name and form. Who are you means we show our name, and who are you means we present our appearance, our form, and you say this is me. But in sleep, where is the form and where is the name? Nama Rupa is gone. You are without Nama Rupa, yet you exist. Because you have got into that gravity, Sankarshana, the black hole of consciousness. So very significant nomenclature. Vasudeva, because he is residing in all of us. Vasu, Vasa, Vasati is these words in Sanskrit. He resides. Then Pradyumna, again very significant nomenclature. Dyu means light. Pradyumna, it is all light game in dreams. When you have dreams, you don't actually experience physical objects in dream. These are all light effects, like you are aware of laser shows. What are laser shows? They are laser beams, and then you get so many forms on the screen. So it is light effect. Dream is all light effect. If you see the river, it is of the nature of light. If you see mountain, it is of the nature of light. If you see animals, they are all luminous forms, not physical. You don't see physical elephant in dream, but it is ditto emulation of physical elephant form. It is by light effect. Dyuhu Prakasha, light. And therefore it is called Pradyumna, because all light show, it is all luminosity show in dreams. Therefore Pradyumna. Aniruddha. Aniruddha means unrestrainable. In awakeful state, you can't restrain your identity. What is it that you are not able to restrain in awakeful state? You can count. What is all restrained in your dormant state? You can count. So when you go to dormancy, the restraint is there of so many things. And then when it is awakeful state, basically your I, pronoun I, the me, is unrestrainable. It is not restrained. And because it is there, so many things, lack of restraint conditions are there. That's why it is called Aniruddha. Basically, you can't restrain your identity. What happens to your identity in sleep? Do you have it? If you have it, then you have not slept. So that's why it is called very significantly Aniruddha. Therefore, if you recall, I said Patanjali is not speaking about restraining these chitta vrittis which are happening in your worldly affairs and worldly gravities. It is the chitta vrittis to be restrained when you are internalized in an internal realm. Those vrittis are to be restrained. You don't have to restrain the vritti of dog and cat and mango and apple and delicacy, ice cream. These vrittis are not restrained in yoga. You don't have ice cream while you are in yoga. There is no ice cream parlor inside you that you have to restrain yourself from ice cream or mango or any delicacy or any cake, pudding. What is restrained in yoga is totally different. The vrittis which come in internal realm, subjectivistic realm, are to be restrained. That is why it is chitta vritti nirodha. Not the chitta vritti nirodha of aniruddha state, awakeful state. So, these are very significant nomenclatures. These are the divinity is behind every state of our consciousness. That means behind every act of our consciousness. So see the pervasiveness of divinity within us. That's why he is Purusha Vishesha, Purishete. He is a Purusha, special kind of Purusha, because basically he is within us. And then he is special kind because he is definitely different than us. Like that quotation from Mundaka Upanishad, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhayam. Two birds on the two branches of the tree, one upper branch, one lower branch. One on the lower branch is tasting every kind of fruit and making faces. And one on the upper branch is just witnessing. It doesn't take bites of fruits. But the finite being takes bite of every kind of fruit, bitter to very bitter to sweet to very sweet, and makes 1001 faces. But the one at the branch above it is just neutrally watching, sakshi. That's why Atma Paramatma, Jivatma Paramatma concept. Jivatma means one who is enduring fruits, suffering by fruits, enduring fruits, enjoying fruits, suffering by fruits, and the one totally transcendent. So, the Jivatma is the one who is suffering, enduring all the fruits, delightful to sorrowful. But the one who is Paramatma doesn't take any bite, doesn't endure anything. He is ever in unalloyed state of its own state, his own state, which is bliss, bliss and bliss. So that's the quotation which comes in Mundaka Upanishad. So, the divinity is within us. If we have to search, it has to be searched within and not searched out and go out and try to search it. Search it within, you will find it even outside. It has to be searched within, should be realized within. Then you will realize it outside as well, not vice versa. Anyway, it is a Purusha Vishesha, special Purusha. So see how Patanjali has brought these concepts and put them into a formula which is really a marvel. Anyway, today I wanted to tell you about the Pancharatrik concept which I have done. So let us stop here for the time being. Let us proceed on Ishvara in our next sitting. Namaskar all of you.